All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome here to our City Council briefing on November 13th. Appreciate everybody's time today. One specific topic today that we wanted to cover is we've got a unique situation coming forward where Dr. Sarah Cole has announced her resignation from the Sioux Falls City Council, and her seat will be vacated on December 3rd coming up. And so the City Council is authorized by the City Charter to appoint a replacement for that spot, or if an appointment is not made within 30 days, it would go to a special election. At this juncture, the Council has decided a process or approved a resolution that lays out a process for nominating and approving a replacement candidate. And so last night a resolution was adopted. That resolution lays out how the voting will take place, because City Charter gives us the authority to appoint but doesn't really tell us how to appoint. And if you look at kind of what happens either in the legislature, city, other communities, it's always done differently on the how, and we wanted to provide a little guidance to the community on what they can expect of how this is going to happen over the next month, so everybody had clarity. And so the process laid out is that any two councilors are able to nominate someone to serve in that role. There needs someone to be the main motion and someone to second that motion. They need to make that nomination, and it'll be made public on the Friday before, and that'll take place on Friday, December 5th. So on Friday, December 5th, two councilors can place a nomination on the agenda, and then that following Tuesday, anybody who's nominated will have an opportunity to come and make public comment, and then the public will have an opportunity to give input after the nominee has spoken, and then the council will then go in and vote. And how they'll vote, we'll do it the same way that we do our leadership election within the council, is how this is modeled. So we'll call upon each councilor individually, and then they'll say the name of the nominee that they prefer, and we'll do that until a nominee gets a majority. And so the key things for the public to be aware of is, number one, if you want to be considered for a nomination, you need to be in contact with city councilors, because you need to find two city councilors that will nominate you, and then you'll need to obviously speak at that city council meeting, and then there'll be an opportunity for public input as well. And so there's been some questions, for example, around would we allow certain nominees or not allow other nominees? I think it's important to clarify that anyone can be nominated. The charter determines who can legally serve as a city councilor. So city councilors, two city councilors could nominate anybody that's legally qualified according to the charter. And I want to clarify that. We can't put into a resolution that only this type of person, or we don't want to allow anyone that's on a future ballot. That can't be put into the resolution. That can be a personal preference, but the charter allows for anybody who's a legal resident for the last 6 months to serve as a city councilor. So I just wanted to clarify that for the public as well, and the public will have an opportunity to give input that night. So that's the process that's been approved by the City Council. I'll just share some personal thoughts that I have as we look at the situation. For me personally, what I'll be looking for is I will give serious consideration towards nominating a former City Councilor or supporting the nomination of a former City Councilor. I think this is a unique situation where you've got a 6-month window where you're serving, and so I think it makes a lot of sense to consider nominating someone or supporting that nomination who has that experience. With only 6 months to serve, I think it's difficult to get in, learn where the copy machine is at, where all the committee assignments are at, kind of how the process works. And so it'd be an opportunity for us to appoint someone who's been previously elected, so the public is probably familiar with them and can engage with them. And so that's where I'm personally sitting at the moment. We'll give consideration to any other nominations that are made and look at the qualifications of the people on that. But at this time, I personally want to support a former city councilor in that role. And then the other personal thought that I have is I will personally oppose supporting anyone that's going to be on the ballot in 2026. And I'll actually be asking the nominees that personally. Are you willing to make a commitment to not be on the ballot in 2026? I don't think we want this nomination to impact the electoral process that'll take place over the next 6 months. Now, other councilors could very well nominate someone who's on the ballot, et cetera. That's, again, very legal and very much available. Just where I personally stand, I think we should avoid that and stay out of that fray at this time. So that's the process that's been approved, and then those are some personal thoughts that I have on it. I'll turn it over to Councilor Sigette. Councilor Sigette, would you like to share any personal thoughts you have on the process?
I wasn't really planning to speak, but I would actually just agree with everything that Councilor Merkouris said. Personally, I also want to say that I will not be supporting anybody who's on the ballot in 2026. I just think that's unfair and to the other candidates to give any one particular candidate exposure. So I would not do that. And as I've talked to my other colleagues on the council, I think that's pretty much most of them are thinking that same thing. So for anybody in the public thinking that we're to handpick the next person and give that a particular candidate exposure. I don't think that will be the case. But like he said, we can't make that. We can't make that or legally. We can't prevent, another counselor from bringing one of those candidates forward. I just don't know if they would get the support of the full council. I really doubt they would. So, yeah. Other than that, I think I agree with everything he said, and we'd be happy to take questions. Megan.
Have you identified any specific former city councilors that are interested in taking this job for another 6 months?
Great question. I can only speak for myself. I've had probably four to five former city councilors reach out and just ask questions and say, hey, if there's anything, that at least indicated a willingness to talk about it. And I've had a variety of community members reach out as well. So I don't know what the other councilors have had on that, but I've definitely had some reach out to me.
I've had one former city councilor, one non-city councilor reach out to me saying, what's it going to take? The city councilor actually said, I have no interest whatsoever in running for future office, but if you really need somebody to serve, I'd be willing to step up. That was the conversation I had with that individual. And then I did have somebody from the general public reach out saying, hey, I'm really interested in this. How do I get my name in there? So I think there is interest in the community. And I know there's certainly been interest in how are they going to do this? How are they going to fill this? So I hope that we can really lay that out clearly today so that people understand. It's just as simple as he said. If you're interested in serving on the city council in this appointed position, you need to find 2 councilors that will nominate you.
How many former city councilors are there?
That's a really good question.
We had a list.
We had a,
I think there was like 20 that were able or qualified or alive.
20 to 25 former city councilors.
Just as a point of clarity, when you say oppose on the ballot for 2026, that is for people who are planning on running for city council in 2026?
Yeah, anybody that'd be on the ballot for city council, I personally would be
yeah.
opposed to the nomination of anyone that's on the ballot, whether they're on the ballot for legislature, city council, or county commission.
Okay.
I personally would not support their appointment
Sure.
or their nomination for this role.
Thank you.
Or mayor. Any other questions on the process or perspective on how things will work?
Why not just have an election? I know it's not that far away, but why don't you just clarify that?
Great, yeah, great question. Why not just have an election? If we had an election, what would happen is it'd be about 120 days after January 3rd, after that 30-day window. And so you start to map that out a little bit, you'd end up with an election like on May 2nd, and then the person's elected, they maybe take office May 15th, and there's another election June 2nd. It financially wouldn't make sense for the community to have that, and I think it would really confuse the waters for people as they're going to vote. Are they voting for a 30-day candidate, or are they voting for the next 4 years? So I think financially it makes a lot of sense, and then for the community as a whole.
How many races are going to be on? Is it 4? 4 council
There'll be
races,
4 open
right?
council seats next year and the mayor's seat.
It's a big turnover. The last time we had a big turnover, it kind of changed the direction of the council a little bit. The new council, I think, is more aggressive. Do you have any thoughts on how this election being run at the same time as the primary could affect the nature of the council?
I think that's really an unknown at this time. There's a lot of questions regarding that. I think there's been a lot of conversation that the governor's race is really being decided at the primary next year, and so there might be more intensity than normal from one specific political party. At the same time, I think having the other election there at the time is going to drive voter turnout overall from independents and Democrats as well. And so I expect a strong voter turnout from across the political spectrum at the primary, which would be unusual because it's going to have a lot of attention. And those Democrats and independents that have historically always voted in local elections, I think they're going to vote in the local election if it's on the primary or on another date as well. So will it have some impact? I think it's definitely going to have some impact on the ability of candidates to get their messages out because ad space is going to be expensive, et cetera. And so it's going to be an interesting situation. We'll see how it goes for the first time.
It's a nonpartisan race, but do you have any concerns that because there's going to be high-profile Republican primaries, at least one Democratic primary, but the high-profile ones are Republican, that there's an opportunity for a candidate running for mayor and or council to try and leverage that turnout and turn that into more of a partisan race. Is that a concern of yours?
Personally, that was a concern of mine if we had it in November, of, for example, receiving like party endorsements, and they just kind of laid out a sample ballot of how they wanted to vote. And so I am concerned about that, but I think our community overall has a good track record of staying in a nonpartisan. We're focused on the issues, and so I'm confident that the community is going to keep the focus on the issues, and the candidates are going to keep the focus on the issues as well. But at the same time, the political scene is very interesting at the moment, and that could change. Well, we appreciate your help getting the word out so people understand the process and what's going to take place for this open seat. So appreciate your time today and helping us get that word out. Thank you.